As a Nikkei community member. Nikkei is a term that we as Japanese Americans call ourselves in the United States. I'm a former two-term president of the Portland Japanese American Citizens League. So it's a new year, 2019, and we once again find ourselves discussing the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. I'm representing the Nikkei community tonight to share our long-standing belief that the city's involvement with the JTTF will not keep Portlanders safer, but will rather harm many of us as a result of racial profiling and the targeting of our Arab and Muslim families and friends. When social justice activists and racial equity practitioners take on the challenges we face today, we know it's vital to remember our history. We look back in order to move forward. The history of the Nikkei community is unique, and it's important to remind all Portlanders of how the events of 1941 played out in our own community. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on the morning of December 7th, 1941, and by 2:30 that afternoon, the FBI stormed Portland's Japanese American neighborhood and arrested 110 individuals. They rounded up community leaders, businessmen, doctors, journalists, Buddhist priests, and Japanese language teachers, and although none were charged with any crimes, they were incarcerated at the Multnomah County and Rocky View jails. The arrest happened so quickly because the FBI had profiled the Nikkei community, and the government classified our family members as a national security threat solely based on their ancestry. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed and issued Executive Order 9066, which allowed the government to forcibly remove 120,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry from their homes and ship them off to incarceration camps in desolate areas of the country. We are fortunate that we still have Nikkei elders in our community like George Nakata and Henry Sakamoto, who can remind us of their experiences in the camps. Henry testified before City Council in 2011 to remind us all how fear and profiling led to a gross violation of our civil rights. Some have said that these atrocities happened so long ago and that we should move on. Native Americans, people of color, immigrants, and other marginalized communities are often told by dominant culture to get over things like genocide, slavery, and incarceration. But to ignore our history is to marginalize the experience of our underrepresented Portlanders. In 1941, the FBI targeted my community. Since then, they have targeted Arab and Muslim Portlanders and labeled what they call black identity extremists, and what we call Black Lives Matter, as a security threat. The Nikkei community is using our current privilege and our history to bring light to this issue. We have been on record since 2005 opposing Portland's involvement with JTTF. Being part of the JTTF does not make Portlanders safer. It takes our police officers away from community policing and places them in the position of possibly violating innocent Portlanders' civil rights and state law. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. What we're going to do now is that we're actually going to open up the mic to be able to have this community information session and share your questions with our panel over here. Please direct your questions to the panel. What I ask of you guys is that this is a place of information that we can share ideas, so we ask to do it cordially. We're not trying to start an argument. The best ideas that come across is asking truly earnest questions and actually getting them answered. We'll go ahead, and the panel's ready? All right, cool. So do we have any questions to be able to start with?
Anybody can speak to this. I wanted to hear your side of an argument that I've heard in the past, that we need to maintain even a nominal presence in the JTTF so that we know what the fox is doing in the henhouse.
So, Portland police officers who are part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force is not going to change how the FBI or ICE or any other federal agency operates, right? So having us there is not making us safer. It is not helping us help the FBI be more compassionate, more empathetic, more community focused. So I don't think that that argument would actually hold water. I've heard that argument over the years as well. And for me, that just doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that, I think the fact that we can't get information about what the JTTF is doing, so maybe there would be the 1 or 2 officers that are working for the JTTF, that are Portland Police Bureau officers, maybe they would know what the JTTF is doing, but because the police chief and our police commissioner don't have security clearance to be able to find out that information, it's not even gonna get to them, right? And it's certainly not getting to us as a public, so maybe those individual officers know what's going on with some things, with the things that they have access to, which I don't think is actually very high-level information. When we had Mike German, who's a former FBI agent, come back out here last year to speak to City Council, one of the things that he helped illuminate me on was the way that these officers actually get used, and they tend to use them for the sort of like lower level surveillance operations. So they're actually engaged in the sort of gathering all sorts of information, and then once there's actually a threat that is identified, it actually gets leveled up to higher level folks that aren't even necessarily involving those Portland Police Bureau officers. So I think there's all sorts of things that are making it so that we're not actually going to get that information.
All right, and if folks can just introduce themselves before asking a question, that'd be great.
If they're comfortable with
If they're comfortable with that.